again, everybody. Because as a Capricorn, I'm punctual. And I'm very punctual. When I say a time, that's where I'm at. Actually, 5 minutes early every single time. So if you ever invite me over, I'm going to show up early. But anyways, for those, I see a lot of new faces here, and thank you for coming. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Raina. I'm a fifth dimensional soul sage and spirit guide. And what I do is I teach consciousness to everybody. My gift the other day to everybody was conscious thought. And the reason why conscious thought is so important is because, yes, love is important, compassion is important, understanding is important. However, though, conscious thought is what we struggle with the most. And the reason why we struggle with the most with conscious thought is because our mind is conditionable. Our mind has already accepted ideas from birth, depending on our geographical locations, depending on who we are, where we've been raised, what our parents believe, what we've been told on media, is what we've decided to accept. Some of us change those, but we hear a lot of the same things. And our mind says this: if I've heard it enough, it's true. If I sit there and start going on the news and start taking over every news channel and say, now something is bad for you, after you hear it so many times, you're going to say, wow, that's bad for me. I'm not going to eat that anymore. And how many of us do that? How many of us change our thoughts depending on what we hear? And how many of us have accepted the ideas in spirituality, life, and that, depending on that we've heard it so many times? We've heard, a lot of us call it tradition. And yes, there are wonderful traditions out there, but many of us, we just accept because that's what we think is true. We are such a young species, very young. If we take humanity throughout time, we are just 5 seconds in to all of life in this dimension. 5 seconds. So how do we know what is true and what isn't? And thus is the struggle we live in. Because we're all trying to find truth, aren't we? And so many of us fight over the truth, right? Think about it. Everyone thinks that they know what they know is truthful. Christians believe what they believe is truthful. We believe what we believe is truthful. Other people believe what other people believe is truthful, right? And so how do we know what is true? And thus is what we get ourselves in trouble with. The 5 principles of emotions, and I'm going off, and I have this just to keep me on track because I like to run on a tangent and that. But the 5 principles teach us to look at ourselves. Yesterday, if you missed yesterday's class, it was on conscious evolution. It was about recognizing who you are in self and understanding your limitations. This is part of the program that I teach people, my students and everything. This is one of the, if you go out there and you talk to us and we have a course, and you'll see the 5 principles, because this is the foundation to understanding who you are. We are an emotional beings, aren't we? We get upset right away, right? We like to laugh, we like to joy, we cry at movies. Anything that stimulates us, depending on where we're at mentally, is what attracts us. So if we like to be sad, we're going to watch sad things. We're going to talk to sad people. We're going to do these. If we want to try to ignore that stuff and be happy, we're going to try to find people and things that make us happy all the time. If we want to be angry, oh man, we are going to find angriness, aren't we? So what you see in life is what you are in the mental state. So the first principle says that we have to recognize the untruths. And that means we have to take a look at what we believe in, our limitations, and say, okay, I've learned this. And I've heard that the law of karma, oh man, that's going to get you. Man, you do good, you're going to get good. You do bad, you're going to get bad. It's going to come at you 3 times. And it's just going to, I mean, that's vicious. Who said that? Because if you actually understand the truth of karma, that's not at all even close. And I know some of you, I'm teaching or preaching to the choir, but even if you hear this stuff and you kind of know this stuff, I want you to listen. I want you to drop everything that you've learned before and listen. If your brain starts to say, well, I know this, yeah, she's right, yeah, I want you to drop that. Because that's our ego saying, I already know this, I'm going to tune out. I'm not going to listen to any new information or hear something different because I already know this. And in that very second, you just created a lie. That you know what somebody else is going to say. That you already understand that there's nothing else for you to learn. And that's the problem in spiritual communities, isn't it? We hear something over and over, and many people say it, and we tune out. Because our brain has already said, nope, I already know everything I need to know. I don't need to listen to this at all. And even if I know this, well, I don't need to take your class. We support each other because that's our path, right? If we truly understand that there is no separation, then you realize that right now, even though I'm speaking, you are teaching yourself. And in that truth, you can break down the limitations. If your ego is involved, you stop learning, you stop growing. You have to be willing to look at your belief systems and say, what did I pick up that may be creating chaos in my life? Because how many things that we believe in, that we buy into, that may be not truthful, that will create chaos in us? We hear so many things, especially in the spiritual community. One of my 5 no-nos is no positive and negative, because the misunderstanding of what that is. Well, I got to be positive all the time. Be positive. Don't be negative, because negative is bad. Whew. What is that going to do to you? It is going to make you frustrated and angry and feel like a failure. Why? Because there's no such thing as positive or negative as in good or bad or good and evil. It is polarity. It is used for duality so that you can see the perception of who you are in your experiences. And that's the limitations. You buy into things because you think, oh, well, this is going to better my life. If I'm positive, that means I'm going to be happy all the time and great. Well, guess what? You are going to be so out of balance because you don't know the other aspect of things. Positive energy is what? Masculine, right? It's time to go out and do things. It's time to be in charge. It's time to feel that strength and the feminine energy, which is negative, which we in this country deem toxic and weak. And that idea and evil, and that idea is pushing us away from reflection, from seeing ourselves, from seeing who we are. It's stopping you from growing. Every single person in here who's trying to chase this idea of positive and negative, let's have a positive experience. Never happen. It can't exist because it's duality. It's duality. Encompass both. You have to see what it is you are in both. And even in that duality, you hear duals that right away your mind thinks too, but there can be a million perspectives inside that duality. And the limitation is created by what you're willing to accept and what you're not. So if you're willing to hear something once and just accept it blindly, you're going to lead a very struggled life. If you're going to hear something without ever questioning it, you're going to lead a very struggled life. You're going to be angry. You're going to be judgmental. You're going to be these things because you can't understand anything past what you've heard or saw. And this is what's dangerous in society. How many times do we hear something on the news or hear something and all of a sudden everyone goes crazy? In Florida, the minute a hurricane's coming, everyone, it's like we've gone back to the Stone Age and everyone's fighting over meat. And that, like, people, like the lines for gas, and people bring guns and shoot each other and rob you of your gas. Like, it gets crazy when hurricanes happen. What? What? Oh yeah, all the toilet paper. It's like we have to have we keep a stock in our garage all the time because, and we get our gas 6 months put the thing because we know how crazy it is. Why? Because the limitation I have without, and when I was young, I got educated. I have 4 degrees in medicine, and so one of the things I did is I said, I want to know how to grow things. I want to know how to plant things. I want to know how to take care of myself. I want to know if the world collapses tomorrow, that I'm good. I know how to recognize plants. I know what they're used for. I know how they did it. And that education exploded my mind It said, you know what? I'm not limited to just shopping at Publix, or I don't know what the things are here, but Publix and Whole Foods and stuff. Because, yeah, Sprouts, okay. These limitations are the death of our soul because they stop us from moving in a direction where you think you're supposed to be. You are always on your path, but the untruth is what you tell yourself every day. We were talking, the man who's sleeping right now, you and I were talking. Okay. He was meditating. I know my voice is so soothing, I know. But you and I were speaking earlier about I am. And the reason why our business is titled I am, because I am what I am. I am. That's it. I am. That's it. There's no other thing that needs to follow. I am. But what most people say is, I don't know who I am. I don't know what I want to do. I can't find my path. I got to search. You got to tell me what my path is. Why? I need to make money. I need to do these things. I need. But what are the only things we need?
Want.
Well, we're going to get to that later. But we need air, water, food, and sleep. Those are the only things that we need to survive. Other than that, everything else is just fluff. And those limitations will create us. And so if you're feeling stuck every day, if you're feeling like you're confused and you don't know what you want to do and you can't find your path and you're just emotional, the first thing you do is say, what am I buying into? My own talk, my own belief systems, what has been taught to me that is creating chaos, that's stopping me from seeing something different. We're going to get into something in a little bit, but what if I told you that your emotions aren't real? What if I told you that what you experience, anger, sadness, grief, happiness, aren't real? And some of you who live in anger and sadness and anxiety like I used to, and you'll tell me, I've had people come up to me and say, Raina, you are wrong when I'm angry, and the anger starts to come. See, I'm angry right now. How is that not real? Limitation, because we see things in a limited perspective. We don't understand because we bought into the ideas that this is the way life is meant to be. Even in the spiritual community, we have bought into so many things that are mistranslated that we don't understand. And you'll hear it. You'll hear people say, oh, let's be positive today. They're creating a limitation right there in what they're doing. Stay away from the negative. Stay away from, no. You need that. You need that to grow. When I used to suffer from depression, I used to think, well, depression is terrible. You know, they have all these pills, stop depression, and especially when I tried to commit suicide 4 times. That's terrible. No, it wasn't. It was the greatest thing that ever happened to me. It was a gift to me because it allowed me to dig into the things that I needed to work on. And so the untruth that I was telling myself was, things are bad, I'm judging. If you had my class the other day, you'd understand some of this with my 5 no-nos. And good and bad is one of them. There is no such thing as good or bad. It just is. Accept what you're going through, accept who you are, and accept where you're at. You're on the path that you need to be. There's no tomorrow, there's no future, there's no past, there's nothing. Only now. 5 minutes from now, if I ask if it's the past, present, or future, you're going to say present. And then in 10 minutes, you're going to say present. And it's always the present. But because you don't believe in yourselves, because your ego and your mind stops you and says, oh, there's time, especially as we get older, I haven't accomplished everything. I'm 30, I'm supposed to get married, I'm supposed to do these things. The conditionings of society start to creep up on you. Go ahead. Yes, the 5 no-nos are 5 sets. There are no good or bad, no right or wrong, no positive or negative, no backwards, forward, and no better, worse.
Better, worse?
Yes, better, worse. Because if you judge yourself, well, things were better yesterday, and today's terrible, today's worse. You're creating judgment, you're creating limitation, you're creating false ideas, and you're kickstarting your emotion. You're creating this. Yeah, absolutely. So I want you to recognize that. I want you to start every single day recognizing what you speak and ask yourself, is what I'm speaking truthful? Or am I just repeating what somebody else has told me that's true? And that's okay if you still want to continue it. There's a lot of practices I still attend and everything because I just love ceremonies. I love that. Doesn't mean but when they tell me to pray to a God and do this, I don't need to do that because I am God. I am the power. I am the source. So I don't need to. So today when a lot of people say, oh, talk to spirit, I talk to me. Hey, Raina. Hey, is it okay to bring my... Of course it is. Okay, you know you're going to get off on a little tangent. It keeps you in mind. And so talk to yourself. Believe in yourself. Fall on your face over and over. But the best thing to do is start to say, you know what? I don't know who I am. I don't know. I'm an emotional person. I'm guided by this. I'm guided by either anger or judgment or sadness or grief or happiness, or I'm trying to disguise whatever it is. And let it fall. Strip it away. Because the truth is you're going to find out when you strip everything away that you were playing to somebody else's tune your whole life. And in those ideas and is what's causing all of this. Next one is going to be release the survivalist. Release the survivalist. We survive. We don't live. Most of us live in the sympathetic nervous system. Our cortisol, our adrenaline, it's off to the races all the time. And we survive. Because that's what life has taught us, right? Life can end at any minute. You got to get yours. You got to make sure you get yours, right? Because if you don't, then who are you? If you're not some superstar, if you're not the next big speaker, if you're not the next big chief, if you're not the next big doctor, whatever it is, the next big healer, then who are you? And so you chase and you chase and you chase. And we're all subject to it because as much as we love to be spiritual, we live in a third dimensional world full of this. And it's easy to be surrounded by it. In Florida, we are deafened by it. I play pool and everyone acts like they're the next Efren Reyes. Everyone walks around with their chest held high, hitting shots. Yeah, look at that. And they won't play with you unless you're a certain level. And then if you get good and you're a girl, the men won't talk to you. And we're surrounded by it. Because everyone's thinking, well, you're taken away from me. If you're better than me, then you're taken away from me. And that means my dreams, my things are no longer valid. And that's another untruth, right? We bounce back to the first one. Oh, I'm not valid anymore. Because what you're doing to me, what you're taking from me, means that I'm no longer valid. And that's the survivalist. See, the brain ping-pongs with you. There's two parts to the ego, and without getting into the id, the super, all that stuff, and I just keep it very simple. There's just a healthy side and an irrational side. Healthy side says, you know what? I'm confident in who I am. I love myself. I'm going to do what's best for me, and I'm going to try my best regardless of the outcome. And when the outcome happens, if it's not to what I like, I'm going to keep trying. Because you know how many times in this lifetime alone I've fallen on my face and started over? So many, it's like every single day for me. Every day it's like, I'm like, oh, got to start all over. And that's the way it goes. Because I no longer live in the survivalist. I understand that everything will be provided as long as I continue to look at myself for who I am. But the of the idea, because guess what happens to the brain in a physiological sense? Does anyone know?
I'm hearing like it emits certain chemicals that then break things down.
So when we stress out, the limbic system gets activated. And it says, oh, there's a stressor. There's something to fight me. There's something, I got to figure out if this is something that I need to do. And so it closes off the rational part. The prefrontal cortex is the part that's thought, decision-making, rationality. But when that closes off, it sends it right through to the amygdala. The amygdala goes down to and sends you cortisol and off to the races. And guess who can no longer see things for what they truly are? Us. You can't. It is impossible for you to see something for what it truly is the moment you become emotional.
Also turns down your memories, so you can't.
Yes.
Memories,
Yes.
but you keep certain.
Yes. Exactly. Exactly. And so this is the part that we struggle with, right? Because once we're in survivalist and our body goes into fight or flight, starts to shake, right? We start to get nervous, we start to get antsy, we start to see people as a threat. And this is the chain of events that starts to happen. Once you create an untruth, a limitation, a belief that's not true, you create a physiological change and you're off to the races. You become a survivalist in every second of the day because you think, we judge each other. We come to a group like this, and on the first day, we did this thing where we're supposed to love and send love, and only 3 people looked at me in the eye the whole time. Everyone else went like this. Some people didn't even open their eyes at me. And what does that tell us? You're afraid of me. You're afraid of each person. We're supposed to be coming together as one, and we're afraid of each other. You're afraid to look someone in the eye because they might see who you truly are. They might see your insecurities. They might see your fears. They might see your judgment. The what? Your vulnerability. And why? What for? What's the purpose? If someone finds out who you are, does your hair fall out? Does your arm fall off? Does your house go kaboom? The what? What? Okay. It doesn't. But survival says if someone figures me out, they're going to think less of me and they're going to find out that all of what I'm trying to be is fake. And that's the first rule. That's the first thing, is that we're fake. We're back to the first one. Huh? The disguise. The disguise that we put on ourselves. See, the thing that I have the gift of is to see people for who they really are. And it sucks because I can't see someone without seeing all the things that they have to work on. But it's a blessing as well. But people fight what they're not ready to accept. Do we understand? Resistance. And so that's why this is hard. Because we want to keep telling ourselves, nope, she's wrong. What I'm into is right. That's our ego. And that's our ego. That's our ego talking. The moment we start to fight ourselves, somebody else, without listening, just listen to people. I don't care if I agree with them or not. I want to listen to people. I want to hear what they do, because if we are truly all one, then everyone is on their path, and we are all reflecting in that. Earlier, Anthony, when we were outside, some guy came up, he's like, hey, this is another piece of us that we need to see. And I was looking around, I was like, and then I saw what he was pointing to. And I was like, yes, without judgment. And that, because when you recognize that yourself in that person, you realize there's no judgment. That person has to have that experience to give all of us back the information. Right? It's kind of like your hairs on your body, right? You have millions. Yeah. That's good. That's good. So you have all these hairs on your body, right? And what do? They're information, right? They're sensors. Your nose, my eyes, it's sensory, right? It's sending in information. It's taking in information. If one of these hairs feels something that's buzzing around and the other ones doesn't, does it say, oh, these hairs fight and say, oh, you're wrong, you didn't feel that? No. Yeah, because why? Because why? Because the body understands that it's all one unit. What? Yes, it understands that. Every part has its role. The liver and the kidneys don't fight. The heart and the lungs don't fight against each other, say I'm more important than you. Each one has their role. But as long as you live in survivalist, you're going to fight people. You're going to say they're wrong and I'm right. They're bad and they're good. No, I don't believe what you, and you're going to feel that resistance. You're going to feel that push because you're attaching yourself to an idea. And that idea is fake.
Like a manifesting body.
Yes. Yes. Because even in this lifetime, I had to go through that again. I had to relearn what it was like to live in the third dimension before I realized who I was. And so I did everything third dimensional. I was raised every way third dimensional. And then it was just like one day it snapped and they were like, boom. And all of a sudden it was like, okay, now I get it. And then I had to undo all of that. I had to erase everything. I had to erase all the pressure my parents put on me to take over the family business and to do this and do that and join the CIA and all these different things that were telling me, you have to be more successful than your family. You have to be more popular than this. You have to be doing all this. If you don't have this type of degree, I got degrees because I wanted them. Because I wanted to teach people things. I said, you know what? I love information. I love knowledge. And even though I'll probably annoy half of you with all of my little tidbits, I'll be like, did you know? And I did that. Who did I do that with today? She's not here. Okay. But someone was drinking coffee and I started going into adenosine receptors and adenosine and telling her, and that, because I love it, because information, that's me sharing knowledge. That's me giving a gift of knowledge. And that, because I love you. And I love me too. So the survivalist takes away that. It says, I'm going to make irrational and consequential decisions, things that have consequence to what I'm saying. Because the moment I choose to shut down, the moment I choose judgment, the moment I choose the lies, is the moment we're going to go down that rabbit hole. And then that brings us to the next one. Next, we're going to retrain our reaction. What does that mean? What does that mean?
Being conscious of what you do before you do it.
Yes, absolutely. That means, hey, ego, shh. When it wants to say, you're wrong, you're wrong. You don't know what I know more than you. I've heard it all before. I've done it. I'm a spiritualist. I'm one with myself. You're wrong. Or Christianity, that's bad. Look at them all fighting. Oh, look at that. Buddhism, whatever. Pagans, witches. That's that world of judgment. Survivalists, belief systems, limitations. Because we have to retrain our ego. We have to tell ourselves, hey, you're no longer in control of us. I'm in control of us because I'm going to work towards self-love. If I'm truly loving myself, then that means that voice inside my head that's telling me when someone's speaking, talking, interacting with me, when someone dresses differently, when someone does something, someone cuts me off, and that's telling me that who's in control. And so the ego jumps out at any chance it gets. Why? Why does our ego control us? Anyone know?
Because fear.
Protector.
Yeah, wants to survive.
Yes, exactly. Fear, protection. Yes, dogpiling, absolutely. And because that's our mechanism of survival. And we just talked about that, right? We just talked, if we're surviving, who's in control? It ain't us. Have you ever been in a car with a terrible driver? And they're rolling around the curves, flying, and you're just holding out? That's yes. Yes. I ride in a car with someone who's like that. Yeah, right? By the time I get out, I'm shaking, I'm like kissing the ground. Yes, pump the brakes.
You're like pretending to push the brake.
Destination and they don't remember how they
Yes, oh yeah, yes. Because our mind takes over. Our mind takes over. So we have to retrain ourselves. That means we have to make healthier choices. I don't say better, because remember, that's one of my no-nos. There is no better, worse. That's a judgment. Something's better than the other. That's a judgment. That will create chaos. But healthier means, okay, well, if I'm getting healthier, if my body's getting healthier, if my emotions, if my heart, my mind, all these things are getting healthier, then that means I'm going towards something. What do we eat? What do we put in our bodies? What kind of water do we drink? When something happens, am I pulling myself back and say, let me observe what this person has experienced, or am I going to shut them down? Because I have people come up to me that talk all the time. I'm surrounded by it in Florida. And they go on and go on and go on and say, oh, really? Wow, that's interesting. Really? Oh, yeah, you love God? Great. Oh, that's awesome. And people come up to me and they're like, Raina, why do you buy into that? And I'm like, because that's their path. That's their journey right now. And I'm not. And in future lives, eventually they will evolve from that. Just like where you're at now, after many lives of experience and understanding, you will evolve from the way you think now. It's like yesterday I said, who here thinks like they're 5 still? Do you still think of, and you believe in all these things that you did when you were 5? Do you still act like you know? Even as a teenager. And that, we don't. Because we mature, we evolve, we grow, and the more experience we have, we retrain ourselves. Okay, we call it maturity, right? And that's the same thing. So what you believe in this lifetime now, and what you are right now in this lifetime, will evolve eventually as the more experience as you did, until you become I am. So your job is to retrain yourself every single time, because you're purposely put here in this illusion of constructs, to constantly put yourself into illusions and mirrors to see yourself. It's almost like a maze that you have to constantly work yourself through every single day. And these illusions are here to stop you and test you at every single. So what you're experiencing is telling you, oh, I'm buying into limitations, I'm buying into survivalists, I'm not retraining myself, I'm not making the choices I need. Boom, we get sick. Physically, mentally, emotionally. And that's why we come to these retreats. Oh, how many of you said, oh, I really needed it this weekend? I really needed a break this weekend. Yeah, that means when you go back out there, you're living survivalist. You're living in your belief systems. Yeah, yeah. Because if you're not training yourself and you're not watching yourself and making healthier choices and doing the things that you need to do, I take baths all the time. I do sound healing on myself. I do the solfeggio frequencies daily. When I go out, I have my playtime, because playtime is just as important. I sit by my pond. I go fishing in my pond. There's a lot of things that I do, because you can't be spiritual all the time. You can't be, play all the time. You have to be able to understand that. But if you're not willing to look at yourself, then this is the path that you're on. Chaos, emotions, and you will be ruled by it. And every time someone says something that you don't agree with, or does something differently that you don't believe in, you're going to be off to the races in emotions. And how healthy is that? In medicine, we see that stress and anger, heart attack, stroke, over and over. We're becoming cancer. What is cancer? Hot, stagnant energy of people. I've had 3 family members in the last month die. And guess what kind of life they led? Anger, stress, judgment, fear. And they were just angry at everybody. If they didn't get their way, And my mom's sister passed away in July when I was there. And she was one of those that just couldn't, got angry if she didn't get her way. And they didn't talk to each other because my mom wouldn't let her daughter come in, because we have a big Victorian house. And because she wouldn't let all the bridesmaids come in and do all their makeup. I mean, silly stuff. But we hold on to those limitations, because if I'm not getting what I want, then that doesn't make me. And so we feed that. We feed that ego. We feed I want, or I need. And that's the difference, right? Because when I say I want, what is it I'm saying? Versus I need.
That you lack.
So I need is a lack. I need this, I need that, I need help, I need someone to tell me what to do, I need someone to tell me where to go, yes.
Most people who say I need don't do anything about it.
Yes, exactly, 100%. Yes, exactly. I need as I'm not. They don't do anything about it, 100%. They're waiting for a God or angels or universe or goddess or something to give it to them. Here you go. There you go. There's your iPad. There you go. There you go. Oh, you want to be the best healer? There you go. Poof. But people don't want to work for it. We don't want, right?
People basically just want stuff handed to them.
Yes.
They don't want to put in the effort.
Yes.
Most people, anyway.
Yeah.
Here, I don't think anyone would be like that.
Yeah.
It seems pretty
But
Well, most people, yeah.
yeah, but why do we pray? Or why do most people pray? Because they want something, right? They're afraid of something. If they're sick, please, God, Goddess, whatever, universe, source, heal me. Oh, like they don't know, please show me my path. This is the power we give over to limitation. You can't be powerful. You can't be a God. You can't be who you were supposed to be until you dissolve this thinking. And you're going to hear many people say, go to here, pray to this, do this, do this. And that's fine for them. But when I want something done in my life, I do it. I don't rely on nothing. I don't rely on anything. I don't even believe in a God because I am that. I see myself for who I am. And you know what? When things want to change, that's when it changes. When I take breaks like last night, and we're going to get into boundaries in a second, but last night I wasn't feeling well because I haven't been sleeping. And I said, as much as I want to support somebody, I go, I need to support myself right now. Boom, boundary. I said, Caleb, pack up everything. Let's go get something to eat and go to sleep. I went to bed early last night and woke up at 8 o'clock this morning. I slept like 11, 12 hours. And guess who feels great now and is ready to do what they need to do, right? Okay. So this is the choices that we have to make. This is retraining. I could have been egotistical and said, no, I really want to support them and I'm going to tough it out. I'm going to get here and then drain my body even more. For what? Just to be here? I'm supporting every person here, regardless, and I know I missed your class yesterday because the schedule changed and that. But I'm supporting everyone, just like you're supporting me. And so that idea evolves and understand and say, okay, well, I may have missed her class. But that's okay. We talk. We share the same energy. We're sharing energy right now. I may have missed last night, but that's okay. We're still the same group, right? So the choice is the limitation that you're making. If you believe that the choice is going to put you into a spot, and you go towards that spot, then that's the choice that you're going to make that's going to create unhealthiness. And so retrain yourself. Stop yourself. Tell yourself no. Tell yourself to stop. When I first started this, my ego was always running rampant because I was super smart. And I was smarter than 99% of the world with a 182 IQ. And I would sit there when I was young and I'd be like, this is easy. I don't even have to study. I'll look at the board once and start doodling on my thing. The teacher would be like, pay attention. And then they'd try to get me. And I'd be like, oh, this is how you solve the equation. And then they would look and be like, what? Like, she's not paying attention. And that. But I was stupid. My brain may be smart. It may be able to process things fast. But I was stupid because I was arrogant. Because I thought that I didn't need to do it. Because I knew that my brain was smarter. And so, hey, I could look at something once, memorize it, but that's youth. That's ignorance. That's egotism. And my guides would laugh at me and say, you think you know so much, wait. And I did. And when I looked at myself and I said, wow. I was like, let's drop it all. And the moment I did, the weight that I was under every day fell off. So the second to last one we're going to do is reestablish the boundaries. How many of it, and I want us to be honest, because yesterday I asked a question, hi, how are you? Yesterday I asked a question and not everybody was honest, and that's okay, I'm not going to point anyone out. But how many of us actually hold boundaries to ourselves and other people? Okay, and that. Boundaries aren't fun, aren't they? Because they offend people, right? Yes. They offend people. It's offensive. What do you mean you don't want to do this? What do you mean you don't want to come over to my house? You're tired. Come on, you said you were going to go. Hey, let's go out. What do you mean I can't keep talking to you? I can't keep dumping my problems all over you. Because if you're a healer and you're in this lifestyle, I guarantee you get people all the time, even in Walgreens, wherever, and he sees it all the time, no matter where I'm at. Even when I'm in the hospital, just run over by a truck and I'm all banged up and stuff. I have doctors all night talking to me, telling me their whole life story. I don't get a break until I say, boundary. I go, I really would love to talk to you, But you see I just got ran over by a truck, right? You know? It happens all the time. All the time. It never stops. Because
That neediness because they're so smart.
yes. Exactly, 100%. But these boundaries will allow us strength. And the reason why they allow us strength is because when we feel drained and tired, it's not just about food and that. It's about what your thought process is and what you're doing with yourself. Tammy is like me, and we both, when we were younger, and we were talking, having a conversation over here the other day, and we were talking, and we like to give, and I got a lot of energy, so it's like give. Then you start to get a little older, and that energy drops a little bit, and you get, and then all of a sudden you wake up one day and you sleep 12 hours and you're just exhausted, and you're just tired, and that because you give yourself over and over and over. What did we say earlier when we started? That you can't save people that don't want to, and you can't save everybody. Well, who said you have to save them in the first place? That sounds egotistical, right? Why are you trying to save people? It's not your job. If you really understood life, then you would understand that everybody in life is exactly where they need to be. Yes. And that, exactly. So let them be. People sit there and say, oh, I'm so depressed because the world is. Then you don't understand life. You don't understand why we're here. Because this is our battleground. This is why we're here, is to learn. This is what we're doing here, coming in chaos and suffering and that, so that we can learn to be gods. So that we can learn to love ourselves and grow and breathe and say, wow, I'm the most powerful thing in the universe because I am everything.
And also to teach that.
And to teach that to people who are wanting to.
Right. Who ask.
Yes, because I'm teaching right now, and those of you who want to accept this and hear some of it and dive into it and say, okay, I'm not just going to believe it just because she said it and I don't want you to. I want you to question it and I want you to use it and say, okay, let me see. She teaches these 5 principles and that. Let me see what this is about. Let me start trying. Let me start at least starting the first one. Let's start seeing what I believe to be true and what I don't and what I catch myself saying, and I don't know why I'm saying it, but I just say it because someone told me and because I repeat it, because I want to feel knowledgeable, because I want to feel special. I want to feel this. Those are boundaries all falling away. Uh-oh. See, even the dog agrees. Yeah, she's like, yes. Yeah, see? Yeah, so how much time, Caleb, how much time we got? Okay. So the last one we're going to talk about, and that is to relearn emotional capabilities. Our emotions aren't real. They're not. They're not real. They don't exist. Only in your limitation they exist. So if I said something to you today that you didn't agree with, you got an emotion to it. You got a knee-jerk reaction. Your ego went, what? Oh, what? No. If someone does something and you create something in that limitation, you will create an emotion. Emotions are not real. You create these things we call happiness, sadness, and they're purposeful. There's a reason why we have them, but they're not real. So you can dictate them or be dictated by them. If I know that I'm on the go a lot, I'll purposely say, look, I've been on the go for like 4 or 5 days. I need to create depression. I need to create me downtime. I need to go into the feminine aspect and understand myself and take care of myself and relax because I've spent too much time here. And that. If I'm happy all the time, people have heart attacks being happy all the time, too joyous. Even in Chinese medicine, which those are my degrees in, they have an imbalance between the heart and that, and people die. People have won the lottery and been like, oh my God, and die. Yes. What did you say? Yeah, right. So just remember, when you're angry, you created that because of a limitation. So what I said was, if you're angry, you created that because of a limitation. If you're sad, you've created that because of a limitation. But instead of being a victim to it, why did I just create that? Why am I angry right now? What limitation did I just put on myself? Or if I'm sad, what am I not dealing with that I need to deal with? Because it keeps coming back, right? I mean, I had DID, I was abused as a child, suffered bipolar, and until I resolved everything without medication, that was in control of me. My moods, my not being able to go in public, all this stuff. And so once I realized, because my guides would sit there and say, you have to remember this. And so remember that these aren't real. And I'd say, what do you mean I'm freaking angry? I was like, and I'd throw things because I have a temper. And I do. And I'll admit that. I own that. I have a temper. And that you get me finally to that point, I'm very understandable. Once you get me to that point, man, things are flying. And people are going to know my boundaries have just been crossed, and that's it. And that's what ends up happening. But that idea says, okay, well now if I'm emotional, then that means, and I'm creating it because if emotions aren't real, I'm creating this to teach me a lesson, and I'm not viewing the lesson that I need to be viewed, then you're going to repeat that lesson over and over and over and over. And that's what makes us angry people. That's what makes us sad people. That's what makes us judgmental people, is the inability to recognize that you're not relearning your emotional capabilities, that you're not using it, you're not harnessing this tool and saying, okay, these aren't real, but I'm creating an judgment and limitation, and I'm creating chaos in my life. So if you want to be free from these things and use them as power, then change it. Relearn it. Start with the untruths. Dissolve all the stuff that you've learned. Dissolve the survivalist. Retrain your reaction. And understand that what you're experiencing, other than you, is just a limitation. Any questions before we go? No? All right, thank you. Thank you all for being here.